So, welcome to the origin episode of Wine on Wednesday. How James and I came up with this idea, why we're doing it, and kind of what we're hoping to do over the next several months. But my name's Calum McLean. I work for Paylocity, HR's payroll provider. I'm your co-host, and I'm joined with James Reed, the amazing employment lawyer from Dinsmore. So, before we go through the introductions and tell you a bit more about ourselves than you probably ever wanted to know, James, your phone's blowing up. You're getting about 1,000 emails a day. Can you just give us a little update on what's happening with COVID right now for the HR guys listening in?
Yeah, everything is moving fast and being voted on daily. Right now, there's this big multi-trillion-dollar CARES package being put together that will offer a lot of loan relief and additional unemployment and other benefits to all of America, in addition to checks made out to everybody under certain income brackets. And with the three new laws that have already been passed, such as the Emergency Family Medical Leave Act and the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, and the tax credits for paid sick leave and paid family medical leave are what everyone's talking about.
Right.
There was some questions and answers issued by the Department of Labor, but we're really looking for more regulations and guidance to answer the dozens of questions that clients are coming up with daily.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were just talking about it earlier. There was one where people were saying, so wait a minute, with the additional $600 a month, some of my guys are going to be making more money staying at home than they would coming in. Did they address that?
It still has not been finalized yet, to my knowledge, as of today. Maybe by the time we actually air this, there will be an update, and I'll be sure to add the update in the comments.
Yeah, because you've been tremendously busy just giving virtual seminars probably daily. That are just getting out there, right?
I am. I love being able to speak daily. It forces me to stay up to date on all the news and legislation, and I'm happy to be supported by a team where other articles are being published by Dinsmore, and I'm not doing it by myself.
Yeah, it's always fun it's always better when there's a crowd involved. I mean, that's why I asked you to do this podcast. It's so much more fun when there's someone else and you got a much different viewpoint than I do, right? So again, so Wine on Wednesday, we decided to do this because there was before this happened with COVID, there was a kind of a gap from HR side of things and getting information. How did they get it? How are they reading it? And pretty much everyone was stretched a mile wide and an inch thick. And HR and payroll just wasn't that much fun anymore. So we wanted to start this podcast just to be kind of informative and just for people to have a little fun while they're at work, right? I mean, you spend so much time doing it, gotta be a little fun. So, talking about fun, James, we're going to do a little game here where we're going to do a little resume recap or a life recap. We're going to take it in 10-year blocks. So, I want you to tell us, now you've got some stuff. Some amazing, you've got some amazing stuff, and if you leave any out, I'm going to call you on it. So I want you to give me from 0 to 10 years, and I'll do 0 to 10, then we'll get up. And when we get to 40 to 50, I'll just take it from there because you're not there yet. Right?
Well, hey, I appreciate this exercise. I think it is fun to break the ice and make the social distancing more bearable when we can still have that interaction.
Absolutely.
So in a nutshell, I was born in Saline, Michigan, which is near Ann Arbor, and grew up super into every sport there is. My dad coached my baseball team, swim team, football, basketball, tennis. Very, very active in paddleball. So that's a version of racquetball that I was playing nationally, starting at literally age 6. There was a 12 and under professional league, and I had great competition.
There were
and
pros 12 and under?
Yeah, so there was it was a lot of the pros would create a kid tournament essentially.
Oh, I got you. Right.
But you would win the exact same trophy as the head pros open league because there wasn't that much money in the sport. So it felt like we were equal. So it was more of just an age group.
Okay. Wow. All right.
So So I could say that I was at that age #1 in the entire country in paddleball when I was under 12.
All right, so
And
that's not.
but to be honest, paddleball was only a Midwest sport, and it wasn't in every state, but it's basically California, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan. Then in 4th grade, I was obsessed with chess. My dad got me into playing chess at an early age, and surprisingly, our school did a school-wide middle school chess tournament, and I won the 4th grade chess tournament, which was a fun accomplishment for a 4th grader. And then I was very into, sports and athletics, and I basically did everything. And when I got to be a little bit older, I was so active, I was injury prone. So I was doing dangerous stunts, like let's make a bike ramp and put broken glass over the ramp to see if we can get over it.
Broken glass.
And,
yes, great.
Just trying to be a crazy kid. I grew up kind of in the country, so we had a creek and a stream, and we were climbing trees way too high, making man-made zip lines with just a thin rope and using old shirts that would catch on fire when we were going too fast down the rope as the zip line. And used to just, ride my bike into town completely unsupervised, or would, walk down the stream miles. And it was just an old country boy, good lifestyle, and I guess the typical American family with my mom was a 1st grade teacher, and my dad was a real estate broker with his own company. And my younger sister and I, quasi got along. We were into different things, but, still had a typical, normal, middle-class life.
Right. Wow. Okay. So from me, 0 to 10, I did nothing. Right. And so I born and raised in Scotland. I had to play golf. Right. It's just, that's the deal. Right. So I did play, not very well until I got a little bit older, but born and raised in Scotland. Sister, my parents were both scientists. It was interesting. There was a lot of science projects in the house that kind of went sideways, but that's okay. At least we tried. But it was pretty boring, right? I don't know, kids over here, I tell you, my kids we're bored. I'm like, are you joking? I said, let me tell you stories of what it was like in my day, and it's just all over. They just tune out and go back to Xbox. All right, so from 0 to 10, I'm striking out here. So what did you have from 10 to 20? This is where it gets interesting for you.
It does, 10 to 20 is where I, started off with the video games, of course, all the Mario, and then quickly got into, Mortal Kombat and all the Street Fighter and action games. And, my parents used to drop me off before I was a teenager at putt-putt golf, and I'd just be at the arcade all day playing video games, and they'd pick me up at the end of the day. So you learn quickly on how to be competitive in your video games. Otherwise, the quarters don't last very long. Yeah, no. So that was a fun phase. And then as I got into high school, I was relatively shy. I had a lot of friends through sports, but as far as, the women's situation, I wasn't dating anybody from my high school and didn't even go to my own high school prom. I just kept it all kind of academic and sports, was a late bloomer. And then when I ended up going to Michigan State, I had more fun, was more social, and became less shy, but still did not have any serious relationships at Michigan State. It was more just taking on the whole experience of having a big open campus with lots of people and lots of fun sports, and had the best, entertaining experience during those times. I think in between that, from 10 to 20, I was mostly the typical kid. I had a little bit of a challenge because my dad is 6'7" and over 300 pounds. And I had a size 14 shoe at a young age, and was essentially pegged to be the center for the basketball team when I never grew an inch beyond 6'4", and I was very thin. They called me Skeletor. So I used to wrestle in eighth grade at 5'10". I was under 100 pounds. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I was 6'3" and 145 pounds. And that's when they started calling me Skeletor. So that still sticks with me to this day. Now I kind of like it. I wish I could maintain that reputation forever. But during this pandemic, it's a lot easier to have snacks and not exercise as much.
Yeah, right? Oh, man. All right. So 10 to 20, please. That's when I started playing serious golf. So like you, my dad would drop me off at the golf course. So here's the thing about private golf courses in the UK. The membership fees are like $1,000 for the year. That's it. You play as much golf as you want. There's no like food and beverage. So it's not like you can't afford to be a member of a golf club. Everybody could. You had the CEO of a organization and the plumber that goes up and fixes everything that needs to get done, right? So it was a big melting pot. So I went there. My dad would drop me off at 7 in the morning, pick me up at 6 o'clock at night. So same with you. I'd get £5 to last me the whole day. And of course, we're teenage boys. We're betting all the time. So if you didn't play good golf that day, then you starved. So I got to be really, really good, right? So that was a plus. I played golf until I was about 16. And then I was swimming for the Boy Scouts. And some guy noticed me swimming and he said, "Hey, we're doing this thing called water polo. Why don't you come and try out?" So I said, what the heck? So I tried out and I ended up being on the national team for under 16s, 19s, and 21. I got to the Scottish training squad. But unlike you, I'm 5'8", and a good day, everybody was like towering over me. They said, thanks for trying out. Out you go. So I took a different path after high school. I went to work in a factory. So in Scotland, this was in the late 80s. They were closing the shipyards, the car plants, the coal mines, and the steel mills. So it was about 22% unemployment. And people were graduating college with big degrees and stacking shelves in grocery stores. So I decided to go to work. So I went to work in a factory and was completely miserable. making minimum wage. So I was bartending at night in really just awful places. And then I graduated from there to a much nicer bar restaurant area. Was making great money. Stopped working at the factory. Went to Australia for 9 months because someone said it was a good idea to go to Australia for a year. So I went to Australia for 9 months and then ended up in nightclubs in the Greek islands.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the best of times and the worst of times. We'll talk about that later over a beer, but we're not going to go into that in detail. So that was my 20s, right? So what happened 20 to 30 for you?
Yeah, so 20 to 30 was a major decade for me. I ended up deciding to go to law school. I kind of knew after my freshman year of college that I loved the area of law because it was similar to chess, and playing euchre and cards was like a way of thinking as opposed to just memorizing various terms or information, and really enjoyed, understanding arguments and thinking on both sides and planning ahead.
Right.
So then I went to law school at Wayne State and had the best education and time there, and met a lot of great people, and even met my wife there.
Oh, no.
So my wife and I were both public defenders in Ann Arbor as a free internship.
Oh, it should be a TV show right there. Husband and wife, public defenders in Ann Arbor. I'd watched it.
Exactly. And then I was teaching tennis lessons at Travis Point Country Club to make some money because the public defender job was for free and pro bono. Oh. And prior to the tennis, I was a construction laborer in the union where the starting wage is like $26 an hour. So that was pretty good money for a young kid working, a little bit of construction, picking up some hours. And then after that, I got my first job and was so excited to be a real attorney. And I was picturing, from the movies and TV, all the wild action and stories and going to court and being quick on your feet and, being that pit bull litigator winning jury trials is what I was picturing.
Yeah.
But so I got so excited, but it turns out when you're a first year attorney, you don't get to go to court and be the lead trial attorney. You're more a side person, preparing an exhibit here or a pleading here. And it wasn't the, exciting experience you were imagining. It was a lot of researching various areas and a lot of non-people interaction. We were kind of buried in the books. And then I lived through a few years later, 2008 happened. So that felt like even worse than this current pandemic. That was life-changing. And a bunch of attorneys, younger and older than me, were laid off. And I was like, wow, this is the time to sink or swim. And I switched my practice to specializing in employment law so I could right-size companies. And that experience was the best thing that happened to me career-wise, because I was now talking to CEOs and business owners and HR directors on how to strategically lay off people or incentivize people to take pay cuts and still stay and not jump ship. And love the idea that instead of spending a lot of money in litigation, I'm actually doing, consultations and saving them a lot of money and creating, loyalty and, a more happy culture and workforce. So I really felt the value in working with HR and being the heart of an organization and being the easy button for an executive. So that was the best experience. And then, after I was married, got my first house and was really just a grinder. I was not at all a networker, didn't do any speaking engagements, didn't really know anybody. I was just that busy worker bee trying to be a sponge and learn as much as I could.
Wow. All right. Okay. 20 to 30. So after the Australia and the Greek nightclubs, I came back to Scotland. I was working in a biker bar. My hair was like really down anyway. So one of the guys who was working there told me about this place called EPCOT Centre at Disney World and why I should go work there. And he explained about it. I'm like, this sounds like great. All right, let's go. So I got all my hair cut off. Went to the interview at the Glasgow School of Art with the recruiting company that hired for Disney. And they were like, you don't have a college degree, but we have to have you. So I went, all right. So I came over to Disney and was working as a cultural representative for Scotland. And at 23, I really shouldn't have been representing any culture. I wasn't qualified. But I had a great time when I was there. I met this really pretty American girl. And the last thing in my mind was coming to America and meeting someone and getting married and living in America. But I'm still married 26 years later to the same American girl.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, right. So I left Disney. She actually went to Disney and was she's actually the person that answered Mickey Mouse's email for the first time in the early 90s. So she's been awesome. So I left Disney, went to work in hotels and was in hotels. And all the way through my, so apart from that, like you in my 30s, I just ground it out, right? I was just grinding it out, having kids. Well, not me personally. My wife had three. We had 3 kids, and it was just trying to figure out how to navigate it, and it was just interesting, right? So that's when, like you said, 2008 came along, just devastated the hotel industry, kind of what it's doing right now. I was talking to a friend of mine who's in a hotel in San Diego. He's going to come on and talk to us on Friday. He just let go 200 people, unfortunately, and he's like, just like 2000. Actually, he said it's worse than 2006 to 2009. He said this is unbelievable what's happening. So I completely sympathize with what those people are going through. I had the exact same thing happen to me in the hotel company in 2008. They're like, thanks very much, but no thanks. So I ended up going to work for a couple of non-profits. I helped them do water projects in developing countries. I loved it. It was a phenomenal job, and we had a little incident in a refugee camp. and it was time to go. It was time to.
What, explain more. What's an incident?
So so I was sent over there to collect $150,000 in money for a water project we did. The local government signed an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. They said we promised to pay, but the guy that did the project had a stroke. And so when we contacted the Iraqi government, hey, you guys need to pay up, they went, oh, we only know Steve. We're only going to talk to Steve. You're not Steve. So my boss is like, dude, we're at 150 grand. What are you going to do? I went, I'm going to go over there and try and get it. He went, that's my boy. So I told my wife, hey, it's right before Christmas. I'm going to go over to Iraq, to a refugee camp and try and collect $150,000, and they don't take credit cards there. So I had $10,000 in a money belt around my waist. Yeah, so we get out there, and it was fine. Mostly fine. I had a security guy with me, of course, because I'm just a boy from Scotland. I'm not used to this. So the guy that was with me was actually in Desert Storm 1 and 2 to make sure everything was going to be fine. And we got into a screaming match with the guy in the refugee camp, and my security guy was like, yeah, we need to go now. And I'm like, no, I was awesome in there. And he went, yeah, you were great. Get your shit, get in the plane, we're leaving right now. So I got back home, and my wife was like, I know you love your job, but we have 3 kids, and you're making like 40 grand a year. Get another job. So that comes in the next part, right? You're up. What happened for you?
A great story. So in my 30s, I switched my goals from grinder to be grinder, minder, finder. So that is where I work really hard, try to be extra specialized, and also find new relationships in business. And that's when I became a partner. And from there, I started doing a lot of public speaking, drafting articles, and joining various organizations, including Michigan SHRM and various chapters, to build some relationships and grow LinkedIn connections and Facebook connections, and try to develop, trusted advisors and make friends with other trusted advisors such as yourself. Yeah. So that we could all learn from each other, people that are better at, building relationships and selling. And from there, I was able to generate a pretty large practice and able to have a team. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about having a team of staff that I could work with, other attorneys, other partners, secretaries. And also I had 2 kids, a daughter and a son. So it was no longer what's in my best interest. It was, what's best for the firm and the team and the family. And after about 5 years of doing that, at age 35, I kind of looked back and realized that I was not physically active anymore. All those sports that I was all into were kind of put to the side. So completely randomly, one of my partners said I should pick up cycling. And I said, cycling? That's never a sport that I was on my radar. But, why would I even do that? And he's like, well, it's something you can do, exercise, early in the morning or late at night, and not necessarily be dependent on, scheduling things. So you can have work-life balance and fit it in and, get fit. You need to focus on your health. Yeah. So then I started getting up at 4:30 a.m. every single day for 5 years. I'm an all or nothing type person. So I went all in, and I ended up having some good results and winning a couple, state championships, several, and being the rider of the year, #1 Masters 2 years in a row in Michigan. And at the same time, I was continuing to grow the family and business. And I realized that my clients needed services more than I could handle and more than my team could handle. Right. So just as of January of this year, I switched firms to where I'm on a national platform where we have licensed attorneys in 38 states. And now I have the ability to fully service clients and not, miss out on any major opportunities.
Nope.
And get to earn my way to a podcast with you.
Yeah. Hey, I think someone's trying to call in. We lost your video.
Yes, I did not put on.
We got it.
I did not put on Do Not Disturb. That was one of my good cycling friends calling me, checking in to see if I'm still staying fit.
So it was just a random, and your boss, oh, why don't you try cycling, and you end up winning national championships. Now you said several. How many several?
So in 2018, I won 7 of the 11 races first place. And I won 3 state championship jerseys. There's only 1 state championship race per year,
right,
per trade. So there's a time trial, a criterium, or a road race. So I ended up being all in and super competitive. And I then use that fitness where my partner and I ended up doing running. So we ended up doing a race 2 years ago for Race Judicata, and we won the Oakland County's fastest lawyers as well. We beat all the other law firms. So now I'm running.
Anything. Right, that's just crazy.
So I just have that competitive bug, and now I'm, looking for my next competition, which
really?
is
what's on the horizon. What are you thinking about?
Well, it was really interesting. As a kid, the first 30 years, I was playing various sports and activities, a little golf, a little football, basketball. So once I did dedicated cycling for 5 years, I'm now wondering what would happen if I did dedicated tennis for 5 years, or, tried dedicated running, something else. So I'm now dabbling in a little more tennis and a little more running. And I'm still doing cycling on occasion tonight, fully give it up. So we'll see where the next challenge lands.
Yeah, right. All right. So wrapping me up, after hotels and the non-profits, I was approached by someone that worked for Paylocity, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come work for us?" I'm like, I'm not selling payroll. There's no way. So I was in hotels for 18 years. ADP and Paychecks called me all the time. Why? So so the one thing that got me, that was like, what do you have as a phone? I'm like, I got an iPhone. He said, so what did you have before? I said, I had a BlackBerry. I love my BlackBerry. I still have it. I don't use it, but I still have it. Anyway, so why do you change from your BlackBerry to your iPhone? I said, well, because it's ridiculous. I couldn't understand the difference, so I just put it off. And then my wife finally got me an iPhone for my 40th birthday, and within 15 minutes of turning it on and downloading Angry Birds, I looked at my BlackBerry and was like, you're an idiot. So they kind of said we have the similar conversations with people when we talk about payroll, and I was still really, really skeptical, because my whole thing is, in hotels, the motto in hotels is sell the dream and service the nightmare. Right? So it's absolutely completely unfair, and I never prescribe to that, but that's kind of what the deal is. And I was worried I was going to get into something very similar, and that's not what I wanted to do. So I just said, I need to talk to a bunch of clients, of your current clients. I don't want you to pre-pick them, because everyone has someone that likes them, even the people that do it badly. So I want to have an unedited list of people I can call. And so my manager at the time graciously gave me a list of 20 people. I said, there's no way you can prep them. So I called the entire list, and I had one person that was unhappy out of 20, and I was like, this is ridiculous. So that was, they kind of got me. The first year here was awful, because I didn't quite understand what I was getting myself into. I didn't understand the lay of the land when it came to HRIS reps and HR and payroll departments. But in the past 3 years, it's been amazing. I've had a fantastic time. Unfortunately, the analogy sell a dream, service a nightmare still kind of follows through, and is true for a lot of companies out there, and that's hopefully what I'm trying to alleviate. And again, this is the majority of why we're doing this podcast, right? It's to talk to the people that are overworked and underappreciated, and just see if we can give them some help, just give them a little bit of hope, smile a little bit. I'll tell terrible dad jokes. I've got a lot. I've got 3 kids. My youngest is 14. My oldest is 21. Right? So I know I don't look my age, it's just I love what I do. I have fun. I laugh every day. My meetings are exactly like this. And when I talk to you, you've got a very similar style when you talk to people. You, for someone that was a grinder and didn't network, how did you get to be so good at it?
I think that I was always networking, just in a different playing ground. So I was networking with the 40 other attorneys that were my bosses for 5 years.
I see.
And
Internally.
that's how I survived that 2008 downturn, was I made myself, networked within. And I realized that I could be doing this networking externally, but I wasn't ready initially because, a lot of people in HR want to be, in the C-suite and be the CHRO immediately. And I think that you got to fully develop the skill set before you try to elevate to that level.
Yeah, the survival skills that you need that you can't get anywhere else apart from getting it heaped on you at the start and digging out, and then you're like, oh, now I get it. Okay. So when you have to make tough calls, you're not scared, or you are scared to make them still, but you it's a calculated risk at that point. You kind of know how it's going to go or should go. I get you. Awesome.
That's right. And I think I was also in a unique circumstance where I was not hired to be the head of sales in any position. So I was kind of thinking, I'm just planning for the next 30 years. I don't have any pressure to have any quota in any short-term period. So by making it more loose, I was actually able to develop more relationships because they saw I was being sincere and real and didn't really have any agenda that I was trying to force on them.
That's the best thing. And I try when I'm out, I'm the world's worst liar, right? That's why I've got a really pretty wife, because she was like, you're the worst liar ever. Awesome. And you like musicals. What's going on? I got the jackpot here, right? So I don't know. I think that's it, being empathetic and just being real with the people and just saying we're not perfect. I make mistakes.
Yeah.
Nothing too bad recently, so it's pretty good. All right, we're going to keep this one a little shorter tonight. Is there anything else you want to tell the people that are watching this about what you're hoping they can get out of it? What kind of feedback you want from people watching?
Yeah. The main reason I wanted to participate in this is I can see how lonely it is to be that sole person in charge of HR, and you can't really, share your negative thoughts or ideas. Sometimes you feel like you always have to be positive, or you bring in all the complaints from everybody else and handle all that negative energy. And, how nice would it be to share some stories that other people can relate to or learn from? And I think that whatever we're going through, it feels better to know other people are going through it together. Right now, especially with this pandemic, people are laying off a lot of people or cutting their pay or worried about people having health issues. So just by having a support group to know that we're here for you and we're happy to be a resource. And if we're not the person that can, guide you, we're happy to introduce you to someone that can. And it's fun just to, break the ice and not be fake. I feel like sometimes in the corporate world, HR is supposed to always follow the handbook policies and just be so corporate perfect. And every once in a while when I'm at these national HR conferences or even statewide conferences, HR people know how to have the most fun, as you used to say, I think they're
oh yeah. Well, that's a whole different episode, that one. Yeah.
So I think that if we can, have a little wine or water or whiskey or just be able to be yourself and not be judged and instead just feel supported, I want to open this venue to have that, trusted, comfortable environment and resource.
Absolutely. And again, we're going to start airing episodes tomorrow. We're going to have this one up tomorrow. We have Christy Stutzer from Revere Plastics, a manufacturer with 1,000 employees. Danielle Crane from Green Path Financial came in with Tim Sackett, the recruiter. Dr. Lee Meadows. We've got a whole bunch of other people that are practicing. We're not actually people that actually are in the trenches with you guys every single day, giving you just hints and tips and commiseration and hopefully a little bit of hope to say that, you know, we're going to get through it. And this was called Wine on Wednesday because we're going to do this once a week and have a glass of wine, and we're doing this every day. But you know, that we all got to chip in a little bit right now. We all got to dig a little deeper, and like I said, we're going to get through this, and we're still going to smile at the end of it.
That's right.
All right.
And we're happy to be inclusive. If someone wants to get interviewed, you know, comment in the comments, or if you recommend we reach out to somebody, let us know.
Absolutely. All right, James, thanks as always. I know it's getting a little bit late tonight. I appreciate it. You can't tell from my basement. There's no windows in here, but I appreciate it. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.
Stay healthy and be well.
Bye.